day, folks, and welcome to review number 69. And today we're going to look at a character that's used to being... It's the Transformers Generations Fall of Cybertron Starscream. So here we have Starscream in his packaging, and he comes packaged in robot mode on a what's become pretty standard generation style card back with the large artwork of Starscream up here in the upper left hand corner, and it's also got the throwback grid pattern in the background. The back side of the packaging features the figure in robot and vehicle mode, as well as a short little bio paragraph up there in the top left corner, and the throwback statistics down here on the bottom. So here we have Starscream in robot mode, and looking at him from the front, he looks great. He looks like a good Starscream figure. It's when you turn him to the side that you start seeing big gaping gaps inside his body, which is probably the first issue you have when looking at this figure, is just how big this gap is in between his main body and his backpack. So that's probably the kind of the first issue with this figure. But getting into the actual articulation of the figure, there is no ball joint on the head. It is just a swivel joint there, so you don't get any tilt. Well, there's a hinge here, so you get a little bit of a tilt here, but no tilt down. You've got a swivel and hinge shoulder joint. You've got a bicep swivel. You've got a double jointed elbow, which is nice, but then you get a swivel joint for the wrist. You get a hinge and swivel joint at the hip, knee joint, and you do get a little bit of ankle tilt here. So posability-wise, he's pretty good. My biggest beef with articulation is the lack of a ball joint for the head. I think that affects his ability to look down on other figures. But as we'll see in a moment, there's several other issues with this figure. And before we get into too many of the negatives with this figure, I do want to point out something I find is really great with this figure. It's this light piping for the eyes. These eyes just really glow. They really pop. Only thing I wish they were red, but the bright yellow color still works. It's a good throwback to the G1 toy, and like I said, it's just phenomenal how those eyes pop. So one of my first beefs with this toy was the feet. There is, like I said, it's not a little bit of ankle tilt in here, which does help out quite a bit. But one of the issues I have with the feet are these fins on the side. They tend to interfere with some more dynamic poses if you're trying to do like an off-kilter kind of a stance, or trying to do more of an action pose. These fins get in the way and throw the figure a little bit off balance, where I think if they had included a way to fold these fins back, it would have helped out quite a bit. Now, I know they're trying to reduce the amount of pinned joints anymore, although there are quite a few pins in this figure as compared to some of the other recent figures. I still would have preferred if they had put something in here to fold these little fins on his feet back. And the other thing, again, that I said that really bugs me is the hollow look to the figure when you look at it from the side. I thought I'd give you a little bit closer view of how this looks. Just a little something, they could have had a little fold-out panel inside this backpack to come forward. And at least they did try to do something with the body here and give it. It looks like they tried to make it look like almost like a robotic spinal cord in there, which is kind of a neat idea. It's just I don't think his robot spinal cord should be visible. If you're dealing with warring robots, you would think they would want to have some sort of protection to those sensitive bits. So yeah, it's not really a deal breaker. I mean, especially if you're just displaying this figure from the front, but you don't want to display this figure in any sort of angle from the side. Starscream does come with a couple weapons here. It's not your typical null rays that you see with them. It's more of a Gatling gun, kind of reminiscent of the movie toy or movie version of Starscream. But he does have, they come with, there's two separate pieces, and you can use them one on each arm like this, or you can combine the two. And there's a little piece here in the center. You can combine them to make one gun, and the gears allow the barrels to spin together. So it's kind of a neat little feature. Didn't necessarily need to be included, but at least they give you the option to use either the big gun like this or use them on the arms is more traditional with Starscream. Moving on to Starscream's transformation, this figure provides one of the more satisfying transformations from the recent Generations Deluxe's line. It's a pretty straightforward process with not too much complexity. Yet it is a slightly different take on the typical Starscream transformation, so in that, it is inherently a little bit more interesting than you would probably expect. Now, the only issue that I ran into with the transformation is that many of the joints were pretty tight coming out of the packaging. I had to use a little bit more force than I was expecting in the beginning, but as I worked with the toy, the joints quickly worked out and were much more manageable. So, overall, Starscream has a simple transformation, but it's in that simplicity that it really becomes enjoyable. So, here we have Starscream in his jet mode, and strangely enough, as critical as I tend to be regarding aircraft modes, this one I really don't think is too bad. And there's two reasons for that. One, it is a Cybertronian jet, so there's no real defined form that it has to be. But the second reason is because it is very reminiscent of the Tetrajets from the G1 series, and I can see where they were going with it. While it's not a perfect Tetrajet, as we saw in the G1 cartoon, it's still very reminiscent of it, and I like that throwback. But yeah, so I mean, it's not too bad. There's a couple issues. First, again, you've got a big hole in the middle. In addition, you can see the back of Starscream's head is visible here, and if you really wanted to, you could pop it up and, hey, look, there's Starscream flying himself. Kind of a popped head mode there. So I don't know if that was intentional for that, but it's something I've never cared for other than on Scourge, who actually used that mode. in the G1 series. So I wish they could have, maybe done something to hide that a little better. The other beef that I have with it is, again, that they've decided to forego having any sort of landing gear on it. So you have, and especially with these red parts here, you've got painted bits that are resting squarely on your surface. So I just have this feeling that if you have your figure in vehicle mode on a table too often, that you're going to start getting paint scuffs on these bits here. But overall, I think the vehicle mode is very passable. The guns, of course, can attach underneath the wings, is pretty traditional for a Starscream figure. And actually, if you are wanting to display or use this vehicle mode or use this figure in vehicle mode very often, I would recommend using making sure the weapons are attached to the wings, because if you look at the shape here, the weapons will actually support the figure off the ground a little bit, so that those painted bits aren't touching. It's something if you have the weapons on, you'll be protecting your figure a little bit and keeping these painted areas from wearing on the ground, versus not having them, where you could be causing some damage. So besides just being able to store the weapons in vehicle mode, these weapons actually do serve kind of a purpose. The Fall of Cybertron Starscream is probably my favorite figure from this most recent generation's line. Many of the figures have had either their robot or vehicle modes, or sometimes both, suffer due to the recent budget cuts. Now, Starscream isn't immune to this, as can be seen by that big hole in his torso. But I think Hasbro has struck a better balance with this figure. The robot mode is good, the vehicle mode is good, and the transformation is entertaining. He won't blow you away by any means, but given what the rest of the line has suffered, I think this design is the direction they need to go.